Hello, biology. The purpose of this video is to show you what my expectations are for reading notes. Reading notes as compared to class notes, which I showed you in the other video, these can be done in any format you want. Same thing, you can write them by hand or you can type them, however you want to do it. Personally, I think typing them is a little bit easier. But some of you guys actually get a little bit more learning done in the process of writing things down. I do apologize in advance. I couldn't get my Elmo working today. It was my intent to be able to show you an aerial view of the book, but what I'll do is I'll just simply hold up the book instead and show you what I'm talking about. All right, let's get started. So first things first, I am going to model class notes in Cornell note style. Some kids do bullets. Personally, I think that's about the most unorganized way to do class notes, but however you want to do it. Some kids do them in outline form. It kind of just depends on what you've been exposed to in your other classes in middle school, or you might actually be a sophomore, junior, senior, what other note-taking formats you've been exposed to in high school. Okay, but I'm going to model Cornell note style. All right, so same as your class notes, I want you to put an ASSN in the upper left-hand corner. Let's put your name over here in the right-hand corner. Again, I'm doing these in a Cornell note style, so I'm going to draw a line, not down the center. I like my line to be just slightly left of center, and I'm going to give them a title. Your first reading note title is going to be 1-1 through 1-2 reading notes. I don't remember off the top of my head how many pages I'm going to make you do. I think it's going to be 4 pages. In any event, that'll be in the assignment. The sub-miss assignment will either tell you that or it'll be in Google Classroom. Well, it'll be in Google Classroom. But I always would recommend that you put the number of pages. So let's assume it's 4 pages, and I just put that as a 4P after the assignment name. All right. Okay, so open up your books. You should have been assigned your textbook by now, and open them up to page 3. And I have got page 3 open right here. All right, so that's 1-1. Okay, 1-1 is the same as 1.1. You are only taking reading notes on the first 2 pages, 2 sections of chapter 1. When we adopted this book, I went through all of the chapter segments and I determined which ones I thought were most important for you. So for chapter 1, it's only the first 2 sections. Okay, so I like to do things kind of in order. Some of you guys are going to do all the vocab first, and then you're going to go back and do the key ideas. I'm going to do them in the order that I come to. So you'll notice on page 3, there is a sentence that is bolded. All right. So not necessary to number your reading notes, but that's how I'm going to model it. And I'm just going to put key idea 1. All right, key idea 1. And that is the sentence that is after that green and gold, how appropriate, key. And then I'm just simply on the right side of the page, I'm writing down that sentence. The goal of science is to investigate and understand And Miss Simon, if they don't have paper ready, you can pause the video and allow them to grab a piece of paper. If they happen to have a laptop on them, they might want to fire that up. They probably don't. To investigate and understand the natural world. Let's see, to explain events in the natural world. And to use those explanations to make useful predictions. Okay, kapow. All right. So I've done key idea one. I would always recommend the hardest part about doing reading notes is one figuring out what's the most important stuff. What should I be writing down? Um, uh, Always start with the key ideas and the vocab for each section. Okay, that'll get you started. That'll probably get you anywhere from a third to a half of the total pages of notes. And then after we've done a few examples here, I'll kind of give you a little bit of logic about what else you might choose to write about. You probably haven't learned this information recently. And if you did take a class like this in middle school, the information is going to be a little bit different. So I wouldn't expect you to know what the most important stuff is. And especially because we probably haven't even talked about it in class yet. All right. Okay. Now, for those of you that are going to be typing your class notes, rock on. All right. Let me show you what you will see in Google Classroom. Each time I assign class notes, you will be given both of these documents. Okay, so if you want to just do them kind of like an outline form or in bullet form, you're going to be using this document. If you want to do them in Cornell Note style, you're going to be using this document. Okay, so what you would do here is you would just simply enter 1.1 through 1.2. I put RN for reading notes and then however many pages. Okay, and then you're going to be putting your questions over here and your answers over here. If you're typing them, you must use this document. You must use this format. Notice it's Arial. Notice it's font size 14. Notice the line is about a third of the way from the left and you have about 2/3 on the right. I've seen kids move this line all the way over here and just take notes over here. That's not okay because the points that you get for your reading notes are based on how much you do. Also notice format, line spacing. We're at 1.15 spacing. I've seen kids double space their notes. Obviously, you're going to have less typed in your document than you would if you use this format. So you must use this format, and I've got the exact same setup over here. Arial 14, 1.15. Okay, so please use these documents. If you want to make your own Google Doc, that's fine. Just make sure you use Arial 14, 1.15, or 1 smaller font size. Okay, so you're going to be using these if you are typing them. Arial 14 is approximately the size of normal handwriting. Okay, so if you're going to be doing your reading notes by hand and you want to make sure that you get full credit, I do appreciate the fact that kids with smaller handwriting are actually going to get more words on the page than kids with larger handwriting. I have an assignment in Google Classroom already for you to write a paragraph by hand and tell me what you did during the summer. Not only will this give me an opportunity to learn a little bit about you and what type of kid you are, but I will be able to judge the size of your handwriting. And I have an equivalent system. So, for example, if you write really, really small, you might only have to write 3 pages instead of 4 pages. If you write really, really large, on the other hand, you might have to write 5 pages instead of 4 pages. So if you go give me a handwriting sample, I will judge the size, and assuming that's the handwriting size you write for the rest of the year, I will tell you if I assign 4, it's this. If I assign 5, it's this. If I assign 6, it's this. If I assign 7, it's this. And then you can always go back to that equivalent and know. Now you might be going, wow, 4 pages of notes, that's a ton of notes. 4 pages is 2 pages front and back. Okay, so it's really not as much as you actually might think. Okay, so back to the notes. The second item on page 3 is that highlighted in bold word, science. That's a vocab word. Okay, so I'm going to just put a number 2, and I'm going to put science. You might put science definition. I'm just going to put science. And this is a little bit difficult for some kids. I like getting the definition out of context. A lot of kids just look it up in the back of the book. Getting it out of context, I think, is better because there are some definitions that are used, words that are used in multiple spots in the book, and the context is a little different. In the back of the book, they're going to give you a definition that kind of covers all of the places where it's used. It might not actually be appropriate to what we're learning about in chapter 1. I prefer to get it in context. So, science, oh, this one's easy. An organized way of using evidence. To learn about the natural world. And by the way, my handwriting, I consider to be average or normal. All right. Some of you guys are going to write smaller than this. Some of you guys are going to write bigger than this. Some of you guys are going to leave big gaps over here and just go to the next line. If you do that a lot, I might count your one page as 3/4 of a page and then add up all the different fractions. Please pack it in. If you can't finish a word, just put a hyphen and finish the word on the next line. You'll kind of get the idea. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 vocabulary words in 1-1. So far, we have one key idea. Only one key idea. In section 1-2, which starts on page 8, you'll see you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 vocabulary words, and it looks like 2 key ideas. The first key idea is on page 9. Second key idea is on page 13. Okay. So you'll have 3 total key ideas and 10 total vocabulary words. That'll probably get you to about 2 pages, maybe a page and a half, 2 pages. And you're like, but Paulus, you signed 4 pages. What do we do? Okay. The next thing that I would recommend that you do is actually just start reading the sections of the book. Typically in this book, the first 3 to 4 sentences of each paragraph are new information. Okay. So if you just hopped from the first paragraph, which we already took notes on, that was the first key idea, and then just wrote down, read the first couple sentences, came up with a question or a prompt, and then figuring out kind of what that's saying, and then take notes on it on the right side of the page. And then you hop to the next page on page 4, and then read the first couple sentences. So that's an easy way to do it, is just writing down new stuff from the beginning of each paragraph. Some kids really have a hard time doing that. It kind of takes a little bit of practice. Another thing that you can do is you can take notes on the pictures. Like, for example, the picture on page 3 is obviously it's a peacock. So what you could do is you could, as your question on the left, you could put peacock with wings spread. And then you could read the caption, male peacocks have markings on their tails that resemble giant eyes. According to an ancient Greek myth, the peacock's eyes once belonged to Argus, a giant with 100 eyes, an angry goddess, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, that really doesn't have anything to do with science other than the fact that in ancient times, they really didn't make correct sense of things. So I probably wouldn't take notes on that image. But if you go to page 4, it's got a manatee. Let's see. The first step in the process of making observations, this researcher. So you could put researcher interacting with manatee as your question. And then you could put researcher is observing behavior in the manatee in Florida. And then what you could do is maybe in parentheses put part of the scientific method or part of the scientific process. Okay. So vocab, key ideas. First couple sentences of each paragraph, images. Some of you guys are going to go vocab, key ideas, images, see how much you have left to do, and then go back and do the first couple sentences of each paragraph. I am not a pessimist. I am very, very optimistic, and I like to assume that kids are going to do the right thing, but sometimes they don't. probably about half of you are not going to do any of the reading notes. Okay. It will be impossible for you to get a B in this, or pardon me, to get an A in this class if you skip all the reading notes. Okay. You might end up with a B, and that might be just fine for you. But, I usually give you about 5 to 6, 7 days to do each section of reading notes. If it's 4 pages, do 2/3 of a page per night, do a half a page per night, spread it out. You're also going to have to do workbook pages with this. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. Okay. Every time I assign reading notes, I assign workbook pages. Okay. What I would recommend that you do is do them at the same time. Okay. For example, let me pull one out of here. So it looks like you are going to be showing this video, Miss Simon, on the 16th, which should be Tuesday. All right. What is the goal of science? Wait a minute. Let's see. Key idea number 1. Look at that. Goal of science is to. So all you simply need to do is, while you're taking notes, have your workbook pages right next to you, and then just write it down at the same time. Some kids that kind of like to test how much they've learned, they like doing the workbook pages after they've done the reading notes. Personally, I think it's easier and it's more efficient from a time standpoint if you do them at the same time. Look at number 2. Sorry. What is science? That's the definition that we just wrote down. Okay. These are pretty straightforward. Multiple choice questions are a little bit tricky. So if you hop to the second page and look at number 11, number 11 says circle the letter of each of the following that can be an outcome of, what does that say? Testing a hypothesis. There possibly is more than one correct answer. Okay. The way that I actually grade these workbook pages is I grade probably about 1/3 of these questions. And then depending on how well you do, maybe out of the 20 that I choose to grade, you'll get a stamp. And if it's a blue stamp or a green stamp, that's good. If it's a red stamp, that's bad. And when we do binder checks, you will get a higher point value for the blue stamp than you will for the red stamp. So if you choose A and the answer is A, C, and D, you will get that wrong. Okay, it'll be partially right, but it won't be completely right. All right, so I would recommend that you do the workbook pages at the exact same time as the reading notes. Of course, if you have any questions about what Miss Simon is telling you, or you're unclear about my expectations on these assignments, feel free to email me. Email is definitely the best way to get in touch with me. If you put a comment in Google Classroom, it'll generate an email to me, but I can't answer it without actually logging into Google Classroom. It's just easier to send me an email at apaulus@sanjuan.edu. All right, you guys, I will see you next Thursday.